I want to share with you something that will really help you in your exams. It's named after Richard Feynman, Professor Richard Feynman, and he figured out a very simple technique to master a subject and remember it in a quick and simple way. Without getting caught up with all the stuff he already knew, he wanted to master new knowledge, and this is how he did it. It was a way of understanding concepts really simply and remembering those concepts. And I'm going to show you how you can make it even more powerful with a mind map. So in his biography it explains the 4 steps to his technique. Step 1 is to write everything you know on a sheet of paper. Once you've done that, add any new information you get from your studies, your books, your lecture notes. Step 2 is to pretend to explain it to an imaginary class. Stand up there and literally, in private, speak out loud and explain your subject to an imaginary class. And while you're doing that, you will start noticing those bits that start tripping you up, where you start using complicated language, or you just freeze and you're not quite sure what that means. In your notes, you mark those areas that you got a bit stuck, the gaps in your knowledge. And that's the goal, to find the gaps. Not go over all the things you know already, but to find the gaps. Step 3. You have found those gaps and you fill those gaps. You fill them by going back to your notes or your books and rereading them around that little gap, not rereading the whole thing, but just around that particular gap you've identified, and fill it in. And often that gap needs filled in with the 4th step, which is an example. A simple word or a simple example. Sometimes there's a complicated word or terminology or concept, and that is your task then, to find a simple explanation for it using the real world, like it's like a bicycle, or it's like walking up a hill, or something falling off a cliff, or use something that's real and an example. And then you go back to the beginning, step 2, where you explain it again. So you get your notes out and you stand there in front of your imaginary class and you explain it all over again. And this time, with your simple words and your simple examples, you will make the breakthrough where it clicks and you've got it. And you know you've got it because you can explain it simply to your pretend class. That's his technique. And he just keeps repeating that until he feels totally mastered that subject. He can really explain that to someone on a simple level. And sometimes people asked him to go and explain something complex, and he'd go away and he'd try and make it straightforward to a basic level, and he'd find he couldn't. And that would be a sign to him that he had to study that area more, and that's what he would do. Now, let's think about how you can do that as a 14 or 15-year-old doing your exams with a mind map. With a mind map, stage 1 is very simple. You've got your note map from your lecture or your textbook, and once you've drawn that, you've done stage 1. You've got your notes written down. Then stage 2, to pretend to teach your class, that's really simple with a mind map, because you just point to the next word, explain that, point to the next word and explain that until you've explained your whole mind map in 3 or 4 minutes, for example. While you're doing your mind map, when you get stuck or there's a gap in your knowledge, you mark that down with a question mark or an asterisk, whatever mark you want, and you go back and you study it again and you enrich the same mind map. And this time, often it's with an example that has a clear image. Like, let's say it's like a knife. You write that, draw on a little knife. And often those are the key points that become really important in remembering something for a test or an exam. And those gaps become your best friends because they have hidden behind them an example or something that's waiting to come out from your imagination or your friend or your teacher. You pull that out. And once you've got those 4 steps, you filled those gaps, you go back and you repeat the process and explain it to your imaginary class until all those gaps are filled, and you've got a mind map that isn't just words, it's got examples in it and images in it, and that's something that can lay the foundation of a map you can take into your exam, because it's got those images and examples. And that's the Feynman technique. And combining it with a mind map is really beneficial, because a mind map gives you step 1, the summary of the information. Then you use your mind map to point and explain the pretend class. Then you use your same mind map to enrich that mind map with more information and an example, which is often a picture of some sort. You've got your picture, and then you explain it again the 4th time with these examples and analogies, and you've got it. And you've not just got a really good explanation, you've got a strong mind map that is a step closer to being something you can actually use to take into your exam in your imagination. So I want you to practice that. I want you to take a mind map you've got right now, pick it up, find somewhere private, and just explain that mind map out loud to your pretend class, and identify those areas you've got gaps and just mark them in. You don't have to go and study all the gaps just now, but I just want you to practice that pretending to teach a class by pointing at the words and speaking out loud.